climbing Bokator mountain. I had to have an armed guard with an AK-47 to guard against poachers, and we had to look out for landmines, and we climbed this thing, and I mean the climb almost killed me, and it's just one of the best adventures of my life. We went scuba diving down in Sihanoukville. Later killed me, and it's just one of the best adventures of my life. We went scuba diving down in Sihanoukville. Later we went up to Rattanakhiri, which is a jungle province it's actually on the Ho Chi Minh Trail, so it's on the Cambodia-Vietnam border, and this is the place where the movie Apocalypse Now takes place. It's not where it was filmed. It was filmed in the Philippines, but the place is supposed to be here in Rattanakhiri with the tribes, and I did a lot of work there with the tribes and stories, and that was just an incredible experience. During the course of this thing took months, this tour, and at one point, so I would come home periodically to Phnom Penh, I see this little flyer tacked to a telephone pole, and it says, "Come see the Grandmaster of Bokator." And so I went, and that's how I found it. Grandmaster San Kim Saint. To rest and do laundry. And while I was home, driving around, and I see this little flyer tacked to a telephone pole, and it says, "Come see the Grandmaster of Bokator." And so I went, and that's how I found him. Grandmaster San Kim Saint. The Grandmaster had an incredible story. Grandmaster San Kim Saint was obviously born in Cambodia. Before the fall of Phnom Penh in 1975, he had studied Hapkido. The Japanese government had sent a couple of Hapkido teachers to Cambodia as part of sort of a friendship and developmental aid sort of thing. And he and I think 5 or 8 other Khmer men earned their black belt in Hapkido under these Japanese guys. And Grandmaster told me that actually the day before Phnom Penh fell, I mean, these Japanese guys stayed on right through the fall of Phnom Penh. And if you know about the history of the war started all the way out in the jungle provinces. Some of the jungle provinces, like Rattanakhiri and some others where I was, they actually fell to the Khmer Rouge in 68 or 69, which most people don't even realize that the war started that early. And most history books don't record the start of the war as being 68 or 69, but there were already provinces under communist control at that time. And the war just kept getting closer and closer and closer, and they'd reached a point by about 74 that the only place in the country that was not under Khmer Rouge control was Phnom Penh. And on the day that Phnom Penh fell, the General Assembly of the country, allegedly, was meeting to vote on what the national flower of Cambodia would be. And that is how much in denial everyone was who was in Phnom Penh. Apparently, you know, the bars stayed open, the theaters were open, and people went about their daily lives. Now, my friends who are old enough to remember tell me that there were bombs going off all the time, you know, like terrorist bombings, not shelling. But they basically just continued to live. And there are foreigners, if you see the movie or read the book, The Killing Fields and some of these others, there are foreigners who just got out at the last minute, who refused to leave, who didn't leave. Just incredible. I mean, the handwriting was on the wall. It was obvious the city was going to fall at any moment, and it was the last vestige of safety. Anyway, these Japanese guys apparently stayed on right to the last minute, and my master said he begged them to leave, and he finally took them to the airport and sent them on their way. In addition to Hapkido, he had studied, from the time he was young, he had studied all the different Khmer martial arts. In Cambodia at that time, it was pretty normal that families had about 8 kids. Well, if your father is one of 8 and your mother is one of 8, and everybody gets married, that means you've got 64 aunts and uncles. They each have 8 kids. You wind up with like 300 first cousins. And out of all these cousins and uncles and aunts, Master found one that was a teacher of Brat al-Saray, which is kickboxing. One was a teacher of Japak Boran Khmer, which is the Khmer wrestling. Another one taught him short stick. Another one taught him long stick. And he learned all these martial arts, Khmer martial arts, including Bokator, from an early age. And then Hapkido, and he taught Hapkido. And then when Phnom Penh fell, he was taken like everybody else. The cities were evacuated by the Khmer Rouge. They took the people out into the countryside. The entire country was put on a regimen of working, sleeping, and eating, subjected to slave labor, torture, and any Khmer soldier could kill any person anytime they wanted to. 25% of the population in Cambodia died in the 4 years of the Khmer Rouge regime. Grand Master was married, I believe, it's a little confusing, but he was married about 3 times from the time that just before Phnom Penh fell. He was married and he had children. That wife and the children were killed by the Khmer Rouge. He married, I think, twice more during the genocide years, and those wives and those kids died. And I mean, just any Khmer person that you talk to who's old enough to remember that period is a witness to numerous murders, and it really plays on their psyche. Obviously, there were other Holocausts in the world, there have been other genocides in the world, but there's never been one where 100% of the population were either victims, perpetrators, or both. When 1979 finally came, well, I'm skipping ahead. During the Khmer Rouge time, one of the reasons they were killing people, they killed anyone who was educated, and it's estimated that at the end of the war, only 300 high school graduates had survived. Killed anyone who was educated, any teachers, professors, doctors, everybody obviously connected with the old regime, anybody who had been in the military. They killed everybody. They killed about 18 royals, I believe, were killed from the royal family. So they also wanted to kill all the masters of ancient traditional Khmer arts, including martial arts. And in Cambodia today, there's a woman who is quite old, and she's a dance master, and she is the only dance master who survived. There is one man, they call him the Cambodian Ray Charles. He's blind, and he plays this sort of a Khmer guitar-looking device, and he's the only master of that who survived. So, you know, pick a discipline, and there's one master at most who survived. They got everybody. And neighbors ratted each other out, and people told on each other, and of course a lot of it was because they were being tortured, or they were starving, or maybe they were angry about something in the past, so to get revenge they would rat you out. And they killed all the martial arts masters. So what my master did was, he pretended to be retarded. He, before getting roped into one of these communes, one of these work groups, he tried to walk as far away as he could from where he lived. And he walked, you know, for days or weeks, or whatever it was. So he was trying to get to a place where no one knew him anyway. And then when he got there, he just acted like he was half retarded, and just told him that his job was picking up trash or something like that on the streets in Phnom Penh. And they believed it. And if anyone had known he was a martial arts master, he would have been executed. When the war was over, he and his wife escaped to Thailand, and in 1979 they were stuck in a refugee camp for a while, and then they were resettled in the United States. Once he was in the United States, he had to make a living, so he started teaching Hapkido, because that's what he'd done before, and he taught Hapkido up until the early 90s, or mid-90s, and he returned to Cambodia. And Cambodia at that time, the Vietnamese had controlled Cambodia until about 87 or 88, and then the Khmer Rouge still hadn't fully surrendered. Parts of the country were still under Khmer Rouge control. 92 to 94, the country had their first elections. They were under the temporary control of the UN, and it was called UNTAC, United Nations, I believe, Temporary Authority in Cambodia, I think was the name of it. And he came back, and he just saw that his country, this country that he had loved so much, was completely decimated, just destroyed. From 1975 to 1979, the Khmer Rouge years, only 300 babies were born. So when I arrived in Cambodia, 50% of the population had been born after 1980, so they were, I believe, under the age of 23 at that time. And there were only 300 people between the ages of 23 and 27 when I arrived. So whenever I would meet somebody who was 25 or 26, I'd always comment on that fact. And they actually have a word in Khmer which is luck baby, and a luck baby is one of these 300 who survived during the Khmer Rouge. So the master came back and he saw his country trying to rebuild itself. He decided he was going to stay and teach Cambodian Bokator to the children so that it wouldn't die out.